I'm excited to have Neeraj Sharan with us today. Neeraj is a technology visionary and the founder chairman of Aura Inc. He has a wealth of business experience in India, the US, and the EU, and is also a member of the Technical Expert Committee under the Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. Today, we'll be talking with Neeraj about the time is now and how it relates to the world of entrepreneurship and business. We'll dive into topics like taking curated risk, staying motivated, and balancing impact with profitability. So let's get started. Grab a drink and enjoy the engaging conversation with Neeraj Sharan. So, welcome, Neeraj.
Thank you, Akriti. Thank you. It's good to be here.
My pleasure. So, firstly, I would like to talk to you about time is now. So, you have been speaking about it often. But so, I would like to know from you that what do you mean by time is now?
Well, Akriti, first, good to be here. And then we've had some conversation in the past as well. And I think it's always good to have this very live, young, vibrant followers and community that you have. And I hope that we can engage more going forward. Time is now. There is a Latin word called tempus est nunc, which says the time is now. And I've been talking about this because, on a very serious note, if you look around the world, and I'm talking first as India, look around the world, there are a couple of trends that have happened in the past couple of years, which have become very, very clear now and very prominent. And these are disruptive forces that have come around and going forward. One is, of course, everyone knows about this, is the technology, AI, digital world. This is a big, big trend that is overtaking the world. That's point number one. Second is we have a big pivot on the energy. So we are in that fossil fuel to solar, electronic vehicle, everything. You're talking about drones, you're talking about solar, EVs down to entertainment and robotic and automation and all that. So that's the second. And the third is, during COVID and post-COVID, we witnessed a lot of disruption in the supply chain. And the disruption not only was in the supply chain, but it was also in the geopolitical alignment to the world. And the world has shifted in the last couple of years. And the shift is quite permanent. And so it's a new world where all this put together gives an opportunity where India is now coming to the foreplay. India is sitting on the head table. We have seen brand India like never before. I went to the United States first time in 1981 to do my master's. And I remember the time, it was not branded. Indians were beginning to be known, but in the 90s when the IT sector began to do good work. But today, brand India is like really almost the numero uno brand beyond a few people in the world. It's the number one brand. Look around. I mean, it's not just software. It's not just technology. We moved into not being a technology leader, but also became management leadership. Yes. Today, CXO suite of the world, top many companies are Indians. Why? Because they witnessed their leadership. So I think time is now for India is very appropriate. We are our own competitor in some ways, I would say. Mm-hmm. We have a very crazy opportunity going forward. Some say it's decades, but I think if we do it right, this century is where India will shine. So that's what I mean by the time is now.
Okay, so when it comes to entrepreneurs and professionals in India, how can they relate to the concept of the time is now?
So now that you've seen the world, and now we talked about India, we are all part of that whole ecosystem. I mean, if you're looking at the world, where would you see a consistent 6 to 8% growth year over year and going into double digits in today's time? Where would you see that? Where would you see this living in this era of a very high growth and across all sectors. It's not about IT only. So when we say 6 to 8% growth and going to 9, 10, hopefully, we are talking about all sectors included. We're talking about manufacturing sector. I know that I was on a panel and they are saying they want to do $1 trillion of export in manufacturing. That's a huge jump till 2025, 2 years from now. Agriculture, going services sector. So when you're living in this ecosystem here, and the world is looking at India, India is offering to the world a big consumer market, and they think that India is one of the earlier days to be 2 twin engines, now probably 1 or 1.5 engine of the world's growth is going to come from here. We are part of that. So whether I am a job seeker, my opportunity to grow as the company grows, as India grows, is huge. If I'm an entrepreneur, I think we have to figure our own trajectory of what we want to do. The opportunities are huge, but you have to find a context of what makes sense to your company's point and how much aspirations you have, both as a professional or as an entrepreneur. So I think we need to be cautious as well, though, that opportunities are there, but we need to execute very well because we are our own competitor. The world is going to reward, but the world is also going to punish if you don't do well. So I think it's one of the best historical times for India and everyone involved and engaged with India, including professional job workers as well as entrepreneurs. This is the land of entrepreneurs now.
Of course.
I mean, we have crazy entrepreneurs right from the Tela guy into the village. And when I go around, sometimes I see huge amount of innovation happening, and I'm so happy. And I'm so happy to see that time is now. I mean, I'll give you one example, if I may.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Look at if I just had to cite one example, that the amount of innovation and opportunity in India that you have just on the food, street food within India, it'll be like $500 billion or more. I mean, it's like when you go to Thailand or you go to some countries like that, you're not scared. You just stop somewhere, pick up a piece of fruit, eat it, have a drink, a sugar cane or a fruit juice or a momos or anything. But here, we are still not sure about the hygiene. So that revolution is beginning to happen. Just imagine that one little slice that we never think of itself is going to implode into such a big opportunity. So is a call out to all entrepreneurs or people who are in that sector to innovate and look into it and go forward, because it's huge. Imagine with the new lifestyle that we have today, double income, people are going to work, there's no time, help is coming less and less. There's more food that you order or go out and eat. You need to have affordable, hygiene, good quality food going forward, not just fine dining. So that's why I say the time is now even for all of these entrepreneurs and professionals here.
Absolutely. So seizing the opportunity is the key to success. This is what this is the takeaway, I guess.
I think so, because when you feel it and then you ponder and you analyze, and then that's when you need to pivot and engage in that process.
Absolutely. So you often talk about importance of innovation and taking risk. So people are usually not comfortable coming out of their comfort zone. So how can a person take calculated risk?
Okay, so I think there are two questions here. One is on innovation, and the other one is on risk.
Yes.
I may want to define that when we talk of innovation, we're talking innovation, we are not talking about inventions, because sometimes people get a little blurred in that. We're not talking invention right now, we're talking innovation, the act of doing things better, which can make an impact. My experience being in the manufacturing industry, in the technology service industry, and now a little bit in the agriculture sector, my findings, and I've shared this with many people across it, is somewhat humorous as well as scary. What does it mean? It means that I personally believe that in the manufacturing and in the agricultural sector here, our inefficiencies that we have is almost to the tune of 40%.
Okay.
Even in the service IT sector, we're talking about 20-25%. So in the way we operate these verticals and business or entrepreneurship or work, we have to first innovate to extract this 40% out of the system that is actually non-productive and is dragging us behind. It's very easy to jump out and say, oh, my labor cost, my energy cost, my transportation cost, my tax cost. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about intrinsic to your system. And some are more or less, I'm giving you the industry average, that it's around 40%. Imagine if we were to innovate in the processes, in the context of what you do. Ponder, think, analyze, innovate in every bit of task that you do. Innovate it. Make it process driven. Make it compliance driven. You will get 30 to 40% efficiency out of that. To me, that is where we are at this point staring at. The larger, bigger enterprises have much better efficacies because they have all the tools, they've deployed the tools, they have everything going well. I'm talking more in the smaller and medium sector where there's a catch-22. We are somehow running with this efficacy which is low. If you were to, that's innovation to me, and I think is required very much in India. And then we'll be very competitive, and our incomes and returns will be much better. The second part you said was about risks.
Yeah.
Again, sometimes I wonder, how do we define risk? Changing a job is really not a risk. Changing a job from being an engineer to cosmetics is a risk, but we're not hopefully talking that. But so somewhat we tend to overuse the word risks. But so we need to define what is risks. And one of the problems that I see is every time we feel that there is a risk involved in whatever my mind is planning to do, whether job or entrepreneurship or a new product or a new services or taking up a new job or relocating or whatever. Our first go-to people are our family and friends.
Yes.
And they should be, because they bring the fabric of society and your comfort zone. But they may not be the most appropriate, professionally trained people to give you a perspective to your question about the risk.
Yeah.
So you can, someone needs a perspective on a change in job in the technology space, and you're asking a friend who is one of your best friends and has the best interest for you, but not trained to give you that. So that risk becomes even more. What I suggest at that time is all of us in the space that we work and operate, we need to befriend some people in that space who have traveled ahead of us in terms of age or experience or success, and maybe they could become your mentor or mentors, not just one. And this is the time to call upon them to speak and talk and figure out a rationality and objective analysis of what this is. And you will probably realize that most often than not, this is not risk. I'll tell you where the risk comes from. I think the risks come from lack of knowledge and understanding of that situation. right?
Yeah.
So probably from that lack of information and knowledge, the risks comes. And then
Yeah.
you have the FUD factor, as we call it, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt.
Yeah.
So now you have a lack of information and knowledge on that subject. Okay, we all have. And then you start to churn it, and then you put fear, you put uncertainty, you put doubt. Now it's a full recipe for a full risk. Oh my God, I don't think I can do it. So that's where I think we need to be careful. Of course, there are things that are risky. I'm not saying they are not, but I'm saying in the space that we have to rationalize what we are talking, speak to the right people, sit over it, analyze it, and you'll probably know that it is more about managing risk rather than taking a risk.
Okay. So talking about like on the similar lines, talking about the aspiring entrepreneurs, they usually are scared. I'll use the word scared to come out of their comfort zone to start their own business. So they think that it is a very risky area to take ahead because they are getting a handsome salary. Leaving that, going to a entrepreneurship or starting a startup is a risk. So, any comments?
Well, that'll always be the case. You know, if we all know that switching from a guaranteed payroll every week or every month, once a month, on the seventh day of the month, and switching to something which is going to be long term, midterm, or whatever, it's obviously it's a major change. So that we know, and that's why the number of entrepreneurs in the world are a minuscule percentage. It's not in everybody. I mean, it's fashionable to talk about entrepreneurship, but it's not a fashion statement. It's not meant for everyone, and it's okay. You can have a great job doing very well, and you can be an entrepreneur and do very bad. So we have both sides parallelly working. Again, as I said, bring to your context, look at your DNA, look at your value, look at your virtues, your appetite, your fire, you're wanting to step out of your comfort zone, be okay with a little bit of unknown, have an idea. So that's what we're talking about here. And that's why you have little entrepreneurship in the world. There is a transition. Yeah. It's not made for everyone.
Absolutely. That is so correct. So with so many distraction and overload of information, there are like multiple avenues, like you can get information, different kind of information on the similar topics. So and which impacts mental health as well. So how can we one stay motivated?
I wish I had a crystal ball and I had an answer for it, because we all are victim of this terabytes of data zipping through us 24/7 in our mind. And the first reaction is we begin to blame technology. And I say, no. It's how you use technology makes it good, bad, or evil, or ugly. So let's pause here and say, so if I Google as an example, if I Google, I've got free time or I'm trying to entertain myself, what is it that I Google is actually going to take me to a place? I Google, oh, I want to hear a TEDx talk on faith or courage to entrepreneurship. I Google, I get 10 examples of various things. I read up or listen. That's one way it takes you to some place. Contrary, if I Google some random things, which is more like neither entertainment nor appropriate, it's just a waste of time. Oh, what is the undercurrent
recording in progress
going on in the politics of India, or the undercurrents of social whatever, it'll take me to another place. So I have to choose in this data and terabytes of availability of data information instantly, what is it that I want to do? It's not a fashion statement that everybody is doing it. I'll tell you, I've been going through this. There were times I've watched Netflix, and all of us do, and yes, we should. Yeah. But I also spend my time learning, you know, and so I go to Wall Street Journal, Harvard Business Reviews, and TEDx and things like that, and there's so much learning. So this is the caution that we need to apply to our mind and put filters. What is relevant to me? And yes, we need to entertain. So let's not get confused between entertainment and learning. They're two different things. We need to entertain. You go and watch comedy, that's good. But during the time when you need to learn, you're watching entertainment or random, not correct data is wrong. So that's what I said. How do you stay motivated? I have to look at myself every day. And I have to measure where I was yesterday and where I am today and where I was day before. And if I really have a measuring tool for myself in my context, to me, that is the motivation I have. And when I say that, it's a 360 motivation. Am I in a better place? Am I making more impact? Have I grown? Have my incomes also gone up? Do I have more recognition and respect in the industry? Have I been able to change or touch more lives? These are the things that is motivating because there's a larger purpose. You have to look at the purpose. It's not just about running a business. The moment you align yourself internally to your own purpose that you have in life or you want to have in life, the question of motivation and how to will actually vanish because it's a self-propelling, purpose-driven life.
Yeah, that's an amazing answer to this question. So, I would like to know, how do you balance the goals of creating a positive impact on the world with the goals of running a profitable business? Like, people assume that these are two things, like creating a positive impact and running a profitable business.
Yeah. So when you're talking about profitable business, it's about a strategy that we create. And that strategy is like a competitive outcome that you wish to achieve in your business strategy. And you want to be better than others in that. So you have to create value. You create value for your customers, you create value for your employees, you create value for your suppliers, you create value to your ecosystem. And that's the value creation that you do in your business to make it profitable and so on and so forth. And it'll create some angst for sure. That, when you create a strategy, there is angst, but you lay out the logic, you tweak it, work, you tone it, work, and then you refine it and keep working as you get better and better. So I don't know what this, sometimes it's a little bit dramatic, Akriti, that we come up with these words, the world is my oyster and the world is my playground, and what impact I can do to the world. I said, okay, my dear friend, let's pause here, take a few breaths, have a sip of coffee and say, what is it that I'm doing today? We all do something. Entrepreneur, leader, father, mother, brother, sister, whatever. Let's do our job better, more efficiently, with more impact, hard, smart, earnest. And all this value creation that I do, that I talked about, if we do this well and we are touching more lives, our purpose is more clarified, and that is the impact actually that you are doing for yourself, for the company, and in that sense to the country and to the world and to the humanity as we speak. And there comes a point where I think we should, and that don't miss that exit a little bit, that, or not the exit, it's a curve, that when you get to a point, and it's a detailed subject for another day, then you need to stretch yourself and step out and say, okay, I got much in life doing what I did. I need to inspire and help others to walk this journey. And if that pivot happens, then you will be going out, touching more lives, inspiring people, motivating people, etc., etc. So I think that is the impact I believe you are wanting to know and how to do it, and that itself is a great journey which will impact the world. So it is all within us. So what we do, doing well, is the impact of the world, I believe.
Oh, nice. Okay. So, lastly, I would like to ask you, how can I know that the time is now or the opportunity is worth pursuing?
Well, yeah, difficult question. But at the end of it, I think when you begin to feel it in your bones, when a thought, an idea, or a transition or a pivot is beginning to occupy your mind space, no matter what you do, your mind and thoughts go to that. Oh my God, okay, can we? And so it begins like that. And then then you begin to analyze it, then you begin to rationalize it, and then it becomes a kind of a mini OCD, right? And you've done it, and then you've spoken to some people who are in that space. And if it's like not, oh, you should not be doing it, it's stupid, but you know what? I think it's a good idea, but morph it to your context. Then I think we are beginning to get a taste of that sense of that gut feeling that I think the time is now. And no matter what, Akriti, at the end of it is always that leap of faith that will actually propel you to take that step and seize the moment and say the time is now. But it's a process. It's not a binary switch. It's not a moment of eureka, I think. It's a very progressive thought process that builds from an idea, and you keep thinking about it. The thought, and then it becomes an idea, and then you begin to keep brooding, and that's how it begins and builds to crescendo, and then you take that leap of faith. So it's not a binary switch of a eureka moment. For some, it might take weeks. For some, it might take a few months. And I would not be surprised that if for some it might take a few years, depending on what that big pivot is. But that's how it goes. It's a progressive journey, and you'll get that sense of seizing the moment.
But at least we need to identify opportunities and think about it, reflect about it, and then only we can identify if it is a moment of truth, or I say moment.
Absolutely. And obviously it starts from there. And you may have 10, you may throw out 7 out and shortlist to 3. You talk to industry experts or people who are matured as leaders, and that's how the whole process, you're good. Look, no matter what you do today, that's the other side I'm going to talk about. No matter what idea comes to you, there'll be 100 more people here or 1,000 more people doing it. I don't think it's about that everyone is going to be a unicorn or $1 billion enterprise or a $10 billion enterprise. We are not speaking of that. Yes, that as well. But what we're talking is a larger midstream where opportunities, there are many people doing it. It's always about who does it better, who has a clear strategy, who has a more stronger execution philosophy and a process-driven system to get there faster, quicker, and bring more value to the ecosystem.
Okay. So, any tips for for our audience? I would say the budding entrepreneurs or professionals. Any tips for them? They would love to hear them.
So this penthouse here we all have, the mind. We don't heed to its well-being as much. So you go to the gym, you work out, you go for a walk, you're counting your steps, you're doing this, you that, very nice. How many of us, and I'm asking this question to the audience, of whatever age has ever decided on their own, when confronted with some dilemmas in life and emotional not well-being, etc., to go and seek professional help much before something happens. Just like mitigating, like you go for an executive checkup every year for health. What if you go and get your emotional audit done? I would strongly recommend, because you will begin to understand in a few sessions what kind of person you are. The type A, B, C, D, what excites you, what does not excite you, what inspires you, what are your strengths, and so on and so forth. That's the first tip I would give is, this is where it begins and ends. Take care of this. Curate it, train it, work on it, friend it, and it'll be the biggest asset you have.
Actually, these are amazing tips, because to identify yourself is the most important thing, and then only we'll be able to identify our strength and weaknesses and work towards our weaknesses. Otherwise, it won't happen, and we'll be stressed all the time.
There's so much to learn and so much to do, Akriti. Life is fun. Life is beautiful. Life is to be lived well, and I always say that. The moment you find a resonance that you're feeling the symphony of life around you, you're working 14 hours a day, and yet you're in touch with friends, you go out and do what you want to do, you're serene, you're calm, and you're also enjoying and having a good time. So that is the sweet spot. I think somewhere between fear and courage lies the magic. You need a little bit of fear.
Yes.
You need a little bit of courage. And the second tip I would like to give is guilt and fear. Be mindful of this, that the guilt comes from the past and fear comes from the future. But we are talking about today. Where is the room for guilt and where is the room for fear actually? So try to stop living in the past. What's happened has happened, you can't undo it. It's okay. Don't be judged by many people who will say, look for yourself. If you've done something wrong, don't do it again. And if you've not, it's okay. Don't live in the past. That guilt will kill you. And always worried about the day after tomorrow at the risk of today. इतनी तो जिंदगी भी नहीं बची है जितनी तू मर रहा है. There is a saying, and there's a good poetry, इतनी तो जिंदगी नहीं बची जितना तू मर रहा है. So why are we dying so much? Yeah? And honestly, we need to work hard and work well and smart, but we don't need to take life very seriously. It's okay. You can be goofy, you can be fun-loving, do weird things. That's okay. That's also a part of the journey. Don't give up on that. Otherwise, you'll burn out very quickly in life. And especially in today's time when the social norms are changing so much, it's crazy. It's crazy and crazy.
Absolutely. I will definitely try and implement these tips in my own life.
Well, we'll talk again on this, and I hope it works out for you. But I'm also learning. The best part is I learn every day. I mean, I learn more talking to people than anything else. And that's why I love to be at forums or talk, because I listen and I learn quite a bit. So
yeah.
Thank you again for inviting me.
Thank you, Neeraj. It was lovely having you here, and we get inspired by your talks, and we'll continue with these sessions every month. Everybody will be looking forward for this kind of a session, so to gain knowledge and inspiration from you. Thank you so much for having you.
Well, India and the world belongs to the younger generation, so hats off, salutation. You're the future. We need your strength.
Thank you, Neeraj.
Thanks
Have a good evening. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.